Part 27. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 261. At this time, two people were sitting in the slightly smaller box next to Li Cheng. One was a blue-eyed blonde foreigner, and the other was a Thai with grey hair and wrinkles on his face. Mr. Smith's boxer is really good. He beat my Muay Thai boxer with 3 punches and 2 kicks. Gu Wang smiled flatteringly. Smith is an agent of an investment group on Wall Street in the United States. His purpose of coming to Thailand this time is the same as Li Cheng's, to buy high-quality industries in Thailand at a low price. So strictly speaking, the two are competitors. Gu Wang is the boss of the Pattaya gang, the second largest gang in Thailand. This Smith has a close relationship with the top government officials. Gu Wang was also ordered by his backer to take Smith to visit some Thai scenery. But I didn't expect Smith not to love women, but to like this kind of fist-to-flesh sport. Gu Wang had to take him to watch the underground boxing match. You Thais are not good, and Muay Thai is not good either. Our boxers in the United States are still good. Smith said proudly, patting his chest. Gu Wang smiled flatteringly, not daring to show the slightest dissatisfaction, knowing that he had to be carefully served in the background, and he dared not offend him. You are right, the boxing of the United States deserves to be popular all over the world. Gu Wang raised his thumb and compared. Smith patted Gu Wang on the shoulder and laughed again. Downstairs, the boxer of the United States embraced the struggling wine girl and kept groping towards the girl's arms. The Thais were standing all around, looking at him angrily, but no one dared to step forward to stop him. Sayer, who was with Li Cheng upstairs, was also depressed, mainly because he felt that he had lost face in front of Li Cheng. In his own place, the boxer of the United States was so arrogant, which made Li Cheng and his brother laugh. Humph, go down and kill him. Sayer had a gloomy face and ordered his men behind him. The men nodded in response. At this time, a young man about 20 years old stood out from the crowd, walked out slowly, and threw away the bag on his body. Let her go. The American boxer who was molesting the girl selling alcohol stopped laughing and turned to look. He put down the girl selling alcohol with a grim smile. Heh, here comes another one to die. He looked at the young man and sniffed the remaining fragrance on his hand demonstratively. Thai girl, hot enough. The Thai people around were extremely angry when they saw this scene, and they shouted, kill him! Kill him! Smith laughed upstairs, this group of ants is so interesting. They think anyone can beat my boxer. The arrogance of the American people reached its peak here. Smith felt very excited. In the United States, he was just an agent and did not have much power. But when he came to Thailand, he felt that he was a superior person and a special citizen of Thailand. Li Cheng looked at the young man's appearance, and suddenly a name Tony Jaa popped up in his mind. Interesting, interesting. He sat up and began to watch the fight seriously. The young man named Aiding slowly walked to the side of the American boxer. The two men confronted each other, slowly circling around, looking for loopholes in each other. Finally, the American boxer lost his temper and punched Aiding with a straight punch. You should know that American boxing is simple and rough, with a combination of straight punches, hooks, jabs, swings, and 1-2 combos. The important thing is the reaction speed. Good boxers have first-class reaction speed, especially the muscle memory that can be trained, and will subconsciously avoid damage. Aiding took a typical ancient Muay Thai start, standing one foot in front of the other, and the center of gravity of the body sank slightly. Oh! Ancient Muay Thai, Li Cheng muttered softly, touching his chin. Bang! The straight heavy punch of the American boxer was blocked by Aiding's forearm. Then Aiding punched out, his elbow followed his body moved with his feet, he turned around and turned his hand, and his elbow hit the boxer's chest heavily. This is not over yet. Before the boxer could react, Aiding kicked the boxer's shoulder fiercely with a whip kick. The boxer stumbled and fell to the ground, but he had obviously practiced anti-strike training and stood up swiftly. The boxer glared at Aiding fiercely and rubbed his chest. The elbow strike just now injured him. He waved his right hand downward twice, relaxed his muscles, and hooked his fingers to indicate that he would come again. It must be said that Westerners have a natural advantage in physique, and the muscle fiber strength is stronger than that of Thais. An elbow strike and a whip kick did not hurt him much. Li Qing upstairs also smiled when he saw it. Muay Thai is still a lot worse than Chinese martial arts. If Fen Yuxiu came, the boxer's collarbone would definitely be broken by the whip kick just now. However, Say saw that Aiding had the upper hand, and his face showed joy. It seems that we still have masters in Thailand. The audience around was also very excited, and they cheered for Aiding one by one. The boxer walked towards Aiding with a grin, and threw a series of punches, including straight punches, hooks, and backswings. Aiding was exhausted for a while. But Aiding did not sit still and wait for death. He kicked the boxer's thigh with his leg. If this kick hit an ordinary person's leg, it would definitely make the person unable to stand up. But the thick muscles on the opponent's thigh blocked his attack, leaving Aiding with an opening. The boxer took advantage of the situation and picked up Aiding's legs, threw him out, and his body hit the wall. The huge pain made Aiding arch his body, endure the pain, and turn over. Li Qing shook his head when he saw this. This Aiding was still too immature. In this case, Fen Yuxiu had taught him that it was not okay to kick the thigh, but to kick the joint. If the kick just now had hit the boxer's leg, he would definitely be crippled. "Be careful," everyone around exclaimed. The boxer had come to Aiding's body, grabbed Aiding with his big hand and raised him above his head, intending to throw him to death on the ground. If he fell hard this time, his internal organs would bleed and he would definitely die. Everyone in the audience was watching with fear, and some women even covered their mouths. They couldn't bear to watch such a cruel scene. Aiding turned his elbow and tightly grasped the boxer's neck. He used the force of falling to turn over and threw the boxer hard on the boxing ring. The whole boxing ring was shaken by the weight of the two people. Even the people in the audience felt a slight vibration, which shows how powerful the force was. Then Aiding turned over, and before the boxer could react, he grabbed his neck with his right hand, and stuck his left hand firmly on his right wrist, completing the guillotine lock. Those who understand fighting know that if the size difference is not very large, being locked by the guillotine is equivalent to the end of the game. The veins on the forehead of the American boxer were bulging, his face was full of blood, and his brain began to lack oxygen. He had no choice but to pat the boxing ring to admit defeat. "Good," Sayer in the box applauded and shouted. Li Qing also clapped a few times. This move was so-so. Smith in the next room slapped the French window. Stand up for me, don't lose." Gu Wang didn't dare to say anything, so he had to watch Smith vent. Sayer breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he won this time, otherwise he would lose face. "Go and see who is making so much noise next door," Sayer frowned and said impatiently. "Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all." Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 262. You come down with me. My boxer is injured. These people are responsible, especially the boxer who injured him. Smith looked at Gu Wang angrily and said. Gu Wang dared not say anything in anger, so he had to lead him downstairs. Just in time with Say's younger brother. People under the ring cheered. Although there was no handicap this time, everyone sincerely cheered for Aiding. There are even women who, under the stimulation of hormones, take off their tops and wave them around, not caring whether they are naked or not. Speaking of women in Thailand, they are much prettier than those in neighboring countries, especially the mixed-race girls, who have mixed-race faces and Western women's bodies, Wow. Li Qing, who was sitting in the box, didn't care about these at all. Well, some of them are in really good shape. Brother, in the box next to me is Gyu Wang from the Patty gang, with a foreigner. They happened to go downstairs when I came. The younger brother whispered in Sayer's ear. Sayer glared at him when he heard this. Damn it, it's really not going to happen. Can you mention the word gringo in front of the guests? In other words, he bullied Li Qing for not knowing Thai. He was about to scold his younger brother, but the quarrel downstairs caught the attention of Li Qing and Thayer. Li Qing smiled playfully. Say? Go down and take a look. Say nodded. This was his territory, and the baddie gang dared to run wild here, which was simply disturbing Tai Sui's head. Could it be that the backstage of the Bangkok gang who was bullied just resigned? Under the ring, a group of baddie gang members surrounded Aiding, who was about to leave. He was just acting bravely. The Buddha's head in the village had not been found yet, and he still wanted to find the Buddha's head. You can't leave, you will be punished, you hurt my boxer. Smith pointed at the boxer lying on the ring and shouted at Aiding. Aiding didn't understand English. When Gyu Wang finished translating for him, he and the Thai people around him were shocked by Smith's shameless remarks. On the ring, no matter life or death. What's more, it's compensation. Even if compensation is given to the loser, why should the winner have to compensate instead? Aiding stood there innocently without saying a word. He had just come out of the small village and did not understand these things. He came here to find the Buddha's head. As for taking action, I really couldn't stand the boxer bullying the girl. Why? The people around asked indignantly. Because we are beautiful people, believe it or not, I will call the police and arrest you. As soon as Smith's remarks came out, Gu Wang's face turned ugly. Once Smith calls the police, this place will definitely be sealed off. If Thayer finds out, the two gangs will fight again. This Smith is truly a troublemaker. Call the police? I want to see who dares to call the police. Li Qing and Say had just come down from upstairs when they heard such remarks, which made Say very unhappy. Gyu Wang, you want to start a war, and you came to my territory to cause trouble. Say looked at Gu Wang with a gloomy expression. This kid definitely did it on purpose. A look of embarrassment flashed across Gu Wang's face. See, you misunderstood. This time I brought Mr. Smith here to watch the boxing match. Sayer looked at Smith and then at Gu Wang, still feeling something strange. Mr. Smith is Mr. Tarpan's friend, Gu Wang said to Sayer with a smile. Say's heart trembled when he heard this, and his face turned livid. Tapan is a senior member of the Interior Ministry Police Department and has great power within the police agency. It is rumored that he is expected to take over the position of Director of the Interior Ministry Police. Originally, Thayer didn't have to be afraid of him, but recently due to the financial crisis, his biggest backend, the Ministry of Finance, resigned. Now it is indeed not as deep as the opposite background. You asked him how much compensation he wanted? I paid for him. Sayer took a deep breath, glanced at Smith, and said to Gu Wang. Gu Wang smiled proudly and translated for Smith. I want him to pay $10,000 in compensation and kowtow to admit his mistake, Smith pointed at Aiding and said arrogantly. Sayer's face turned livid. Don't go too far. This injury costs $10,000. Are you crazy about money? When Li Qing heard this, his face darkened. What he cared about was not the $10,000, but the fact of kowtow and admitting his mistake. People who practice martial arts value martial ethics most, and what Smith did was really too much. This friend can only kill with a nod of his head, so he can just kowtow and admit his mistake, right? Li Qing looked at Smith coldly. Smith was stunned when he heard Li Qing speaking in Chinese, and muttered to Gu Wang for a while. Mr. Smith advises you not to meddle in other people's business, Gu Wang said seriously. Li Qing stretched out his hand, and Zhang Dongxiu handed over a roll of US dollars. I gave him his money. How about this matter being over? Li Qing threw the money to Gu Wang and said. When Aiding saw Li Qing giving him the money, he quickly waved his hand, trying to stop him. Smith picked up the dollar bills from Gu Wang's hand and threw them on the ground. Today he must kowtow and admit his mistake, even if he has money. He was determined to humiliate the young man in front of him, and no one could stop him. Sayer gritted his teeth and planned to take action. What the hell? Li Qing kicked Smith directly in the abdomen, and the huge force sent him flying 2 or 3 meters away. Smith didn't even react. He only felt an overwhelming pain in his abdomen. Gu Wang was shocked. Now things were serious. He knew how much Tapan valued Smith. What are you doing? Are you crazy? Gu Wang waved his hand, and all the brothers behind him surrounded him, intending to catch Li Qing. But they forgot that this was Say's territory, so how could they be arrogant? Hit hard. He had retreated in front of Smith just now, and he felt very embarrassed. Now he was rude to Gu Wang's brothers. Not long after, Gu Wang's brothers were beaten to the ground one by one. Smith, who was not far away, secretly looked up and saw that some of Gu Wang's brothers had their legs and feet bent, and they should be disabled. He was so scared that he quickly lay on the ground and pretended to be dead. Zhang Dongzia walked over, grabbed Smith's collar directly, and dragged him up to fight. Well, he was really unconscious this time. I don't know who you are, but Say persuaded your friend to leave Thailand quickly, Gu Wang said in a deep voice. Just now, Gu Wang's brothers were beaten all the time, but Say did not attack Gu Wang. After all, he was the boss of a gang of the same level. If he really wanted to fight, it would mean a fight to the death. Say glanced at Gu Wang and translated his words to Li Qing. Li Qing shook his head. Say and Gu Wang were afraid of Tapang, but he was not afraid. After all, his relationship with the Thai military was not vegetarian. In fact, in the entire Thai system, the military has always been a huge political force, and it is independent of the government and the national constitutional system. To be more precise, the Thai military more reflects the interests of the military, which is actually the interests of the royal family. Military power is always in the hands of the royal family. Li Qing stopped Zhang Dongzia from slapping Smith again. If he continued to beat him, his brain would probably be beaten into a paste. Come with me, Li Qing said to Aiding with a smile. After listening to the translation, Aiding began to hesitate. After all, he owed the big boss money and he had no money to pay it back. But he still had to find the Buddha head, and he was tangled in his heart. Buddha head, I'll help you find it. Li Qing saw the hesitation in Aiding's heart and patted him on the shoulder and said. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 263. Hearing this, Aiding tightened his shoulder bag and nodded firmly. A group of people walked out to the underground boxing gym. Brother Li Qing, I'm really sorry that something like this happened today. Thayer smiled sheepishly. I originally wanted to take the guests to see something different, but I didn't expect it to end up like this. He glanced at Aiding. In fact, he also wanted to accept Aiding, but now the strength of the Bangkok gang could not protect him. He didn't say anything when he saw Aiding leaving with Li Qing. After all, it was better than waiting to die here. A man like Smith would never let him go. See, don't say such things. We are friends. If necessary, I can get on the line with the Thai military. Li Qing smiled. He knew that the Bangkok gang was in a difficult situation now. The forces behind it had collapsed, leaving them with no confidence to do anything. Most of the people arrested by the Bangkok police recently are members of the Bangkok gang. Then thank you brother Li Cheng. In fact, Li Cheng's invitation to join the Bangkok gang was tantamount to cooperating with the Thai military. Generally, high-level government officials had to think twice before mobilizing the Bangkok gang. Thayer arranged the residence for Li Cheng and others at the Shangri-La Hotel in Bangkok. Brother, do you want to call Crow and the others back? Zhang Dongzio asked softly. Forget it, finally come here and let them have more fun, Li Cheng said with a smile. I don't know what Crow's expression will be when he finds out that the beautiful woman in his arms is a she-male. Haha. When Zhang Dongzio heard his eldest brother's bad jokes, the picture also appeared in his mind, and he laughed. After returning to the hotel, Li Cheng contacted General Ai Peng, who was familiar with him. In fact, he had informed Ai Peng of his intention to cooperate before coming. The main purpose of contacting Ai Peng this time was to hear what his superior wanted. Haha, brother Li Cheng has arrived in Bangkok. Ai Peng's laughter came from the other side of the phone. The two hadn't seen each other for several months. Yes, I met Say, Li Cheng said with a smile. Hey, you didn't say hello when you came. What fun can he have? I'll take you to the guest house. There are a lot of fun things there. Ai Peng complained with a smile. Indeed, the military has its own internal hospitality organization, which does not make any concessions to those outside. Haha, this time we are mainly here to discuss business. The main reason is that the Phuket government still needs the military to coordinate. Li Cheng's tone was a little solemn. Brother Li Cheng, don't worry. I've already contacted you. If you want to wear your hair, the government won't dare to have any objections. Ai Peng's tone was filled with disdain for the Thai government. The democratically elected government of Thailand is only a tool used by the royal family to check and balance the military. Once the democratically elected government mismanages its governance, the military will stage a coup. In this way, the royal family can not only win over the people's support, but also win over the interests of all parties. Sometimes, Thai people even hope for a military coup to improve their lives. Now, under the pressure of the financial crisis, the people are complaining. If the military did not launch a coup, it would be Amitabh. Who among them would dare to embarrass the military? Let's get together tomorrow and come to our military camp to let you taste our real Thai food, Ai Peng said with a smile. Li Cheng also agreed. It seems that the general will have a lot of tricks up his sleeve tomorrow. After a night of silence, Li Cheng rejected the woman arranged by Say and fell into a deep sleep. Bangkok Royal Hospital, VIP ward. Smith woke up again in a hospital bed, his face swollen like a bun, and he couldn't even open his eyelids. He still remembers the palm-like slap hitting him straight, and then he didn't know anything. Mr. Smith, are you awake? Gu Wang whispered. He stayed up half the night and kept staring at this distinguished guest. After he reported the incident, he was scolded by Tapan. If Tapan hadn't had something to do out of town, he would have come here long ago. Where is this? Smith looked at the ceiling blankly, not having recovered from the fight between the two big dicks. This is a hospital, don't worry. The doctor said you had a skin injury. In fact, the doctor said it was a concussion, but Gu Wang did not dare to let Smith know. Mr. Tarpan is on his way. You need to rest for a while. After Tapan received the news, he rushed back from the field and calculated that it was almost time. The person who hit me. In addition to the pain in his face, Smith also had unbearable pain in his abdomen. He suddenly remembered that he had also been kicked. Bang! The door of the room was pushed open, and a pot-bellied Mediterranean came in. Mr. Smith, how are you? Mediterranean wiped the non-existent sweat on his head and eagerly came to the hospital bed. Tapan, my friend, I didn't expect that Bangkok's security was so bad. I was beaten in front of everyone. This kind of thing happened in Thailand. It really disappointed me. Smith choked and felt the wounds on his face hurt even more. Tapan looked at the injuries on Smith's face with concern, and asked the doctor carefully about Smith's condition. Smith is the investor he finally won over. You must know what it means to win such a large amount of foreign investment under the pressure of the national economic downturn. His next promotion will all depend on Smith. Gilwang, I asked you to entertain Mr. Smith well, and this is how you entertained him? Do you, the baddie gang, want to disband? Tapan came to Gilwang angrily and stared at him with burning eyes. Mr. Tarpan, the matter is very complicated. Tapan did not stop Gilwang from explaining, it's complicated. I asked you to protect someone, but you can't do it? Are you a pig? Tapan was so angry that he slapped Gilwang in the face. Gilwang covered his cheek, not daring to move, lowered his head and said nothing, but his eyes were full of ferocity. Tapan turned to Smith on the bed and said, Mr. Smith, don't worry, even if I turn Bangkok upside down, I will find the person who beat you. Tapan promised with a serious expression, and he gritted his teeth as if the person who beat Smith was the murderer of his father. Tapan looked at Gilwang with disgust. Why are you still standing there? Are you a stupid pig? Go find someone for me. Gilwang said nothing and hurried out. Originally, he wanted to tell Tapan that the man was with Sayer and should be a powerful person. But Tapan didn't understand the situation and beat him, which made him feel ashamed and angry. Damn, Tapan hopes you will never fall. Gilwang grew from a small gangster to the boss of the second largest gang in Thailand. He is not only vicious, but also knows how to endure. It would be fine if people like Tapan did not fall. Once they fall, Gilwang will let him know what it means to live a life worse than death. Early in the morning, Li Qing was awakened by a hurried knock on the door before he woke up. He opened the door with a frown. Hello, we are the Bangkok police in Thailand. We have received a report that you have beaten others innocently. Now please come with us. Several uniformed Bangkok police stood outside the door. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wan Ching Buletin Liang. Chapter 264. Haha, Bangkok police. Wait, I'm getting dressed. Li Qing yawned without even closing the door. Zhang Dongxiu, who was in the next room, heard the sound and came out. His burly body and fierce eyes made several Bangkok policemen take 2 steps back. Brother. Aiding also walked out of the room, saying that the trouble was his own fault and had nothing to do with Li Qing and others. Jilly Gilo talked to the Bangkok police, but it had no effect at all. Instead, the Bangkok police asked him to follow him. Li Qing was shaving his beard with a razor and smiled casually. Dongxiu, did you sleep well last night? The crows and the others haven't come back yet. Li Qing asked casually. Zhang Dongxiu shook his head and pointed at the policeman outside the door. Brother, do you want to call someone? Well, informing Thayer probably happened last night. By the way, give Crow and the others a call so they can't find us. Zhang Dongxiu nodded and walked to the side to make a phone call. After Li Qing saw the police, he had expected that it must be what happened to the white man last night. It seems that white skin is a clear identification card in Thailand. The Bangkok police are notoriously inefficient. Unexpectedly, it took less than 8 hours to find my apartment. Are you okay, gentlemen? Please come with me back to the police station. The policeman, who spoke broken Chinese, sounded impatient. Huh? You didn't see my boss brushing his teeth? If I say another word, I'll break your teeth. After Zhang Dongxiu made the call, he glared at the policeman fiercely. The Bangkok police also know that the other party is not easy to mess with. Guests who can afford to stay at the Shangri-La Hotel are all energetic. They are just following orders and do not have to risk their lives for a monthly salary of 10,000 baht. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Li Qing put on his clothes and said to the Bangkok police, "Let's go. I haven't seen the Thai police station yet, and I probably don't have Taekwondo. I'll go and have a cup of coffee. The policeman finally breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this. Zhang Dongxiu had put too much pressure on them. One of them wanted to take out the handcuffs, but the older policeman snatched them away. Zhang Dongxiu glared at him so hard that the little policeman's arms trembled with fear. A group of people got into a police car and drove towards the Bangkok police station. Say was not calm anymore. He received a call from Zhang Dongxiu, saying that Li Qing was taken to the police station. He suddenly felt his blood pressure soar, and he hit the Tianling guy directly. Damn it, it must be this bitch Gu Wang. He did not dare to waste time and directly called the senior official of the Bangkok police station, but the person said that the order was personally issued by the Ministry of Interior, and there was nothing he could do. Angry, Thayer smashed the phone and said, "Why didn't you say there was nothing you could do when you collected the money?" In fact, he also knew in his heart that the Bangkok Police Department did not dare to disobey the orders issued by the Ministry of Interior. Send a message to the brothers in the detention room of the Bangkok police station and ask them to protect brother Li Qing no matter what method they use. Tell the others, let them mess up Bangkok, I want to see how many police they have. He wanted to take advantage of the chaos to pick up Li Qing from the police station. If Li Qing did something bad, Bangkok might be attacked by a terrorist. The New World may not know that Li Qing has been arrested yet, otherwise with their characters, they might blow up the police station. Say knows how Nakai and the eight-faced Buddha died? But he didn't know that the crow actually knew it at this time. Maid, stop playing around. Big Brother was caught by a Bangkok police officer. Crow put down his cell phone and yelled. They drank too much last night and fell asleep in the box. Several drunken boys woke up instantly. Mud, when I woke up, the boss was arrested. It was so hummed. Drinking made things worse. Go get the guy in the car first, and then go to the Bangkok police station later, Crow said angrily. Before Li Qing and others came, they had prepared some arms and put them in a warehouse rented in Bangkok just in case. At the same time, Apen was driving a military vehicle towards the Shangri-La Hotel in Bangkok. This time he was fully prepared. He specially recruited a few top-looking new female soldiers and prepared some tricks. This time he would entertain Li Qing well no matter what. The collectible gold German Luger P08 that Li Qing gave him last time allowed him to make friends with a big shot in the upper echelons of the military, and he is expected to reach another star. So he was very grateful to Li Qing. Zampa, you must also take good care of Li Qing's younger brothers, and do your best to fulfill any requests. Apen ordered the deputy in the car. Zampa nodded repeatedly to reassure Apen. Not long after, Apen arrived downstairs at the hotel and dialed Li Qing's phone, but the long busy tone made him frown slightly. Is brother Li Qing temporarily in trouble? It shouldn't be, we made an appointment yesterday. Apen was a little puzzled, so he asked his deputy Zampa to take a look. Within a few minutes, Zampa hurried out. General, it's bad, Mr. Li Qing was taken away by the Bangkok police. Zampa breathed a sigh of relief. Huh? What? Aipeng thought he heard wrongly and asked quickly. Deputy Zampao repeated, and Aipeng heard clearly, Bangkok Police Department, how brave you are. Aipeng clenched his fist tightly and said, let's go to Bangkok Police Station. Zampa hurriedly got into the car and drove quickly towards the Bangkok Police Station. As soon as they entered the police station, the police interrogated the three people separately. Li Qing sat on the chair and looked around. There was not much difference between the police stations in Thailand and Xiangjiang and other places. There was a large one-way transparent glass in the interrogation room. If Li Qing guessed correctly, there should be several people standing inside. He picked up the coffee on the table and toasted from a distance. Tupan on the other side of the glass snorted coldly, check this person's background. He was so calm when he came into the police station. This person must have some background, but no matter what the background was, he must give Mr. Smith an explanation this time. Tapan gestured to a fat policeman, who nodded and walked into the interrogation room. Squeak! The door of the interrogation room was opened, and Li Qing smiled. Why is your Bangkok police station so poor? There is no tea, and even the coffee is the worst quality. Your name is Li Qing? Are you from Hong Kong? The fat policeman flipped through his entry and exit records. Do you know that you deliberately beat others and caused Mr. Smith to have a concussion? I'm afraid you're in big trouble. Li Qing smiled contemptuously. He looked down on people who took white skin as their fathers the most. Their servility was deep in their bones. Oh? As far as I know, this Mr. Smith deliberately humiliated the Thai boxer and allowed his boxers to molest Thai women. In a way, I am also standing up for you Thai women. A trace of embarrassment flashed across the fat policeman's face. The whole process was recorded, so he naturally knew everything Li Qing did. We didn't find that woman. As for the Thai boxer you mentioned, as far as I know, he is just an ordinary farmer in the village. There is no question of humiliating him. Li Qing smiled and shook his head. He could never call a kneeling person. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Bulletin Liang. Chapter 265. Okay, then I have nothing to say. People like you will never stand up again. Li Qing said sarcastically. That is to say, Mr. Li Qing, you admit to beating Mr. Smith. The fat policeman said excitedly. As long as Li Qing admitted it, the next thing would be much easier. Li Qing tilted his head and glanced at the one-way glass. He wanted to see what tricks the other party could play. Well, you can think whatever you want. Tapan was happy and said to the microphone, okay, come out. After all, Li Qing is from Hong Kong. There are some things that the Bangkok police cannot do too obviously. They still have to pay attention to international public opinion. But if Li Qing enters the detention room, it will not be their business. There are mixed people inside, and it is not impossible for something to happen. Tapan has arranged staff in the detention room in advance, and this time he must satisfy Mr. Smith. In this case, we have nothing to ask. Mr. Li Qing, please wish him good luck, the fat policeman said expressionlessly. Li Qing spread his hands. Are you bullying me for not understanding Thai law? My lawyer is coming soon. And I have never admitted it from the beginning to the end. Li Qing smiled and pointed at the video recorder. He didn't need to guess that the other party wanted to use the time when the lawyer came to get him out of the interrogation room. The fat policeman didn't say anything, just waved his hand, and two more policemen came in to take Li Qing away. Li Qing stood up and tidied his clothes. He didn't say anything, but coldly made a throat-cutting gesture towards the glass. This made the fat policeman feel very uneasy. He had to contact Hong Kong quickly to check Li Qing's identity. Mr. Tapan was too hasty in this matter. At this time, Tapan looked at Li Qing's throat-cutting gesture, his face began to darken, and he kept muttering in his heart, is this Li Qing really difficult to deal with? It shouldn't be. There seem to be only two bodyguards around him, and the other one is a silly boy from a Thai village. Li Qing followed the police to the temporary detention room, which was called a detention room, but it was actually a two-story building. Some people who had fought and committed petty thefts were temporarily detained inside. Needless to say, the environment was filled with the smell of urine. When the people inside saw the newcomers, they looked at them fiercely. Go in. The police opened an iron railing and looked at Li Qing with a crooked smile. The upper level had told them to pretend not to hear any noise. After the police walked away, several short and strong Thais stood up, took out homemade sharp knives from behind, and slowly walked towards Li Qing. Li Qing looked at them calmly, as if he was looking at a dead person. Several people approached slowly with a grin. What they didn't know was that several people also appeared behind them and walked towards them quietly. Shhshh, the sound of sharp weapons entering the flesh continued to sound. Before several people could scream in pain, they were covered by someone from behind. Others in the cell looked at the scene in horror. White knives went in and red knives came out, and the bloody scene scared people to tremble. Until the few people stopped moving, one of them took the lead and came to Li Qing, wiping the blood on his face. Speaking half-baked Chinese, he greeted Li Qing respectfully, "Mr. Li, hello. I am Agili from the Bangkok gang." Holding a box of cigarettes that had just been opened in his hand, Li Qing smiled and took out a cigarette and put it in his mouth, lighting it with Agili's fire. He took a deep breath, patted Agili's shoulder, and exhaled a long smoke. "Cigarettes, good." Agili's face was happy, and he immediately became Li Qing's bodyguard, standing behind him in a proper manner. The other people also bowed slightly respectfully to Li Qing, and then carried the bodies into the far corner. At this time, the cell was so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. The others sat on the ground cautiously, and only dared to glance at Li Qing with their peripheral vision. He was also scared in his heart. He didn't know where the big boss came from, and someone wanted to kill him as soon as he came in. What is frightening is that there are more people who saved him than those who killed him. Bangkok Police Station, Office Lobby. The originally orderly lobby has now become a mess. In a short period of time, a group of gang members rushed in to surrender. One said he stole a bicycle, and the other said he robbed a middle school student's pocket money. The most exaggerated one was that he turned himself in with a manhole cover, saying that he stole the manhole cover in front of the police station and felt extremely guilty. The police station's alarm operator was also very busy, and often the phone rang again as soon as he put it down. Everyone saw that something was wrong, but they didn't know what the reason was. Yes, Sayer's goal was to make them chaotic, and now almost all the police forces in the police station were involved in him. What disappointed him was that Tupong specially arranged several armed policemen to guard the detention room. He didn't have the courage to attack the police station, and at this moment he found that Crow had rushed over with the people from the New World. "Boss Sayer, what's going on? Why are you arresting my boss?" Crow's tone was more or less resentful. No one expected that after waking up from drinking with a woman, the elder brother was arrested. "Alas, Brother Crow, it's my fault. Yesterday, a white pig made trouble in my place." Sayer told Crow about what happened yesterday. "Damn, just for this little thing, they arrested my elder brother? Are white people the emperors in your Thailand?" Crow curled his lips. Sayer's face flashed with embarrassment when he heard this, but he couldn't refute it. The Thai people now have no confidence when facing the United States. "Boss Sayer, call your people out." Crow grinned and gnashed his teeth. Sayer looked at Crow in astonishment, and then turned his head to look at the fully armed people in the car. Swallowed his saliva. "Brother Crow, are you crazy? What do you want to do? Things haven't come to this point yet, not yet. You know, the police station is a violent organization. Attacking the police station will make the whole thing bigger, and it will be really difficult to end it at that time." Crow smiled and glanced at Sayer. He, this is nothing. It's just blowing up a police station. No matter how powerful it is, it has been done before." Sayer looked unbelievable. "It's more powerful than attacking a violent national organization. You are exaggerating this. You are worthy of being a man who has dealt with transvestites." "Brother Crow, everything is ready." The younger brother in the car came forward and patted his bulletproof vest. Sayer took a look and saw a bunch of grenades hanging from the guy's waist, which made him feel sick. He couldn't help but mutter in his heart, could it be that what Crow said was true? "Hurry up, call out all the guys who are making trouble inside. Run faster." Sayer hurriedly called out, "In case a fight really breaks out, don't accidentally hurt his side." The police in the police station were stunned to see the people running out of the police station. They were rushing to be detained just now, but now they were running like rabbits. What was going on? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 266. The younger brothers in the car came down one after another, all with black masks on their faces, looking no different from the terrorists in CS. Damn it, save my brother, save Dong Xiu, Crow shouted, and a team of people were ready to go, and the 3-3 combat team formed a formation in an instant. SHH, a quick brake sound stopped in front of Crow and others. A man with a star on his head got down from the military green jeep. It was Ai Peng. Crow, what are you doing? Ai Peng frowned at the Crow team. Are they planning to attack the Bangkok police station? Fortunately, he came in time, otherwise the matter would get out of hand and he couldn't control it. General Ai Peng, my brother. Ai Peng nodded to show that he knew before Crow finished speaking, and glanced at Sayer standing next to him and shook his head. I know, it's okay. I want to see how brave the Bangkok Police Department is to arrest my military friends. As soon as he finished speaking, several military vehicles drove quickly from a distance and stopped steadily at the door of the police station in a few seconds. Of course, this was instructed by the top leaders. After all, he was not qualified to mobilize troops to surround the police station. Soldiers in dark green uniforms jumped out of the car and quickly lined up in front of the police station. The surrounding Thai people pointed and talked, looking very interested. Is it another military coup? Really? Then our lives will be much better. Thank God, set up a military government as soon as possible. I hope the relief money will be more this time. The people talked about it without thinking it was a big deal. Anyway, there was no loss for them. Every time a military government was set up, their lives would be much better. The soldiers who had finished lining up were waiting for Ai Peng's order, but their eyes involuntarily glanced at the location of Crow and others. Although the Crow squad only had a dozen people, everyone was well equipped, with bulletproof helmets, bulletproof vests, knee pads, elbow pads, goggles, and military boots. There seemed to be a wireless intercom device on the ear. These may not be a big deal in 2023, but in 1997, they were considered relatively sophisticated individual equipment. Even Ai Peng was envious. Compared with the Crow squad, his soldiers only had a rifle, which was too damn shabby. Ai Peng waved his hand, and his deputy Zumpa immediately understood and ordered, everyone has one, surround the police station, and no one is allowed to enter or leave. Yes. Ai Peng took the lead in entering the police station and walked towards the director's office. Crow and others followed the deputy and entered the Bangkok police station. At this time, there was chaos inside the police station, and everyone was panicked, thinking that a military coup had come again. Seeing the soldiers coming in, they dared not move, for fear of causing any misunderstanding and being shot. In the director's office, the police chief was chatting with Tapang. He knew that Tapang was very likely to be the deputy minister of the Ministry of the Interior in charge of the police station. He tried his best to curry favor with his future boss, and even violated the rules by throwing Li Qing into the detention room. Mr. Tapang, I wish you a promotion in advance. Don't forget me in the future. The police chief picked up the wine glass and clinked it with Tapang in a flattering manner. Haha, if this is done well, you will definitely benefit from it. This Li Qing offended Mr. Smith. Don't let him leave the Bangkok police station, Tapang said meaningfully. Don't worry, Mr. Tapang, I guess he is dead now. Haha. Ding-ling-ling, the phone rang quickly, and the police chief frowned and hung up immediately. But after a few seconds, it rang again. You'd better answer it, don't delay the work, Tapang said with a smile. The police chief nodded when he heard it, Hello? Who? What's important, Minister? The police chief immediately stood up with a solemn expression, as if listening to a reprimand. What are you doing? Did you arrest a man named Li Qing? The caller was the deputy minister of the Ministry of the Interior who was in charge of the police station. Ah! The police chief was stunned when he heard the word Li Qing. Ah, what? That guy is from the military? You've caused me a lot of trouble. The person on the other end of the phone had already ignored the deputy minister's demeanor and cursed. At this time, Tapang also stood up, because the one who could scold the Bangkok police chief like a grandson must be a ministerial figure. Now, immediately, let him go, The police chief stared at the busy tone on the phone, and then looked at Tapang. Damn, Tapang killed me this time. Why didn't you tell me that Li Qing was related to the military? You killed him. The police chief looked at Tapang angrily. Tapang was confused. Li Qing was related to the military. Bang! The door of the office was suddenly pushed open. Chief, it's bad, the army has come in. When the two heard this, they were horrified. The army has come? This seems to be a big deal. Oh my God, go check on Li Qing, the police chief shouted in panic. I hope the group of people inside haven't made a move yet. If Li Qing gets into trouble, I will definitely not be able to get through it. Tapen was also horrified. Hurry up, let's go check together. Don't let anything happen. But it was too late for them, and they were blocked by Ai Peng and his men. Ai Peng looked at the panicked two people. Humph, who of you caught my friend Li Qing? You are really brave. Tapen and the police chief looked at each other. They certainly knew the man in front of them. This Ai Peng is a rising star in the military. It is said that he has been valued by the military leaders and has a bright future. I didn't expect that he was behind Li Qing. General Ai Peng, it's all a misunderstanding. What a misunderstanding, let him go. Ai Peng took out his pistol and said to the police chief's chin. Let him go, let him go, let him go immediately. The police chief was so scared that his calves were shaking. He was really afraid that Ai Peng would shoot. His predecessor died in a military coup. Ai Peng looked at the stunned Tapang with disdain. As for you, haha, wait. Tapang sat limp on the ground. It was over, everything was over. The Minister of the Interior would not let him go. The best outcome was to resign. The police chief led the way in front, and Ai Peng, Crow, and others followed behind. He asked the guards to quickly open the detention room. An unpleasant smell came, and Ai Peng kicked the police chief in anger. Damn it, you actually locked my friend up in this kind of place. Crow also kicked a few times in anger. His boss had never lived in such a shabby place since he came out of Stanley. This bastard really deserved to die. The police chief could only cover his head and scream, hoping that Li Qing was okay, otherwise he might be beaten to death here. Brother Li Qing, I'm here, Ai Peng shouted loudly. Li Qing, who was talking to Agili, faintly heard someone outside calling his name, mixed with a few screams. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 267. The voice sounded from far away to near, and Li Qing knew it was Ai Peng as soon as he heard the voice. Ai Peng's voice was very distinctive, with a bit of hoarseness in his loud voice. According to his own account, when he was the squad leader, he yelled at the recruits and hurt his throat. Brother Li Qing, after seeing what happened, if you want me to tell you, you should go directly to the military camp to find me. Open the door. Mad, you have no discernment at all. Ai Peng got mad at the guard, who was so frightened that he opened the door tremblingly and dropped the key several times. General Ai Peng, I just treat it as a trip. I just happened to come to the Thai detention room to check in. I can also use it as a joke in the future. Li Qing smiled and waved his hand, not caring. Let's go, Let me take you to take a bath and get a massage. I have the most authentic Thai massage. Ai Peng hugged Li Qing and was about to walk outside. Li Qing turned to Ai Gilai and others and said, Ai Gilai, please take the others with you. Ai Gilai nodded happily and waved, and the few people who had just taken action ran out and followed him out of the detention room. As for the corpses in the corner, I believe the police department will take care of it themselves. Brother, Crow had a look of guilt on his face. He was not with his eldest brother last night because he was drinking too much. He was an extremely incompetent bodyguard. How was last night? Li Qing teased, especially curious about whether Crow had sex with the she-male or not. Crow's head turned dark when he heard what his eldest brother Li Qing said. He pursed his lips and remained silent for a long time. Finally, he said in a low voice, Maid, those two guys were bigger than me when they were taken out, so much so that I feel a shadow now. Li Qing narrowed his eyes. Sure enough, he had guessed the result. Looking at Crow's constipated expression, he almost burst out laughing. Fortunately, I didn't take it, otherwise I wouldn't be able to take it. Even A Peng was a little curious after learning what happened. Patting Crow on the shoulder, he said, I'll go to the military camp later. I'll see real women there, haha. The group of people walked towards the door chatting and laughing. At the door, I saw the police chief holding his waist and just standing up. Ai Peng was so angry that he kicked him again. Ouch. Ai Peng glanced at him disdainfully, and everyone walked out. Crow, go look for Dong Xiu and Aiding. They seem to be in the interrogation room, Li Qing ordered Crow. Crow also looked around, and now he remembered Dong Xiu. Okay, brother. After saying that, he led a group of boys towards the interrogation room. The policemen in the police station looked at Wu Wu and others in horror, fearing that they would be shot at in the next moment. Xiu. Zhang Dongxiu. Where are you? Crow shouted loudly. At this time, Zhang Dongxiu was already sitting on a chair, squinting for a while. The Thai police arrested him and ignored him, and they have been ignoring him until now. He suddenly heard the sound of a crow and sat up in shock. Crow, howl like a hammer. Zhang Dongxiu stood up and opened the door of the interrogation room. Just then the crow heard the sound and came towards him. Just like that, the two of them stared at each other for a moment. Xiu, I finally found you. If you continue to take advantage of me, believe it or not, I will slap you to death. Zhang Dongxiu had black lines on his head, and he felt that his palms were itching. Zhang Dongxiu, I'm here to save you anyway, can you be polite? No. Get out of the car, I'm going to find Aiding. Who is Aiding? Get out of the way. A group of people walked out of the Bangkok police station, and Li Qing looked back at the police station building. Brother Li Qing, don't worry. Our military will definitely give you an explanation for this idiot. Ai Peng's face was somewhat confused, and he was scolding his mother in his heart. The stupid Bangkok police department actually did this. Haha, General Ai Peng, don't mind, am I such a stingy person? It's just a misunderstanding, Li Qing said with a smile. Ai Peng also smiled and nodded. In fact, he didn't believe every word Li Qing said. How did the eight-faced Buddha and Nake die? Nake just kidnapped the employees of New World, and the eight-faced Buddha just tried to sell some goods in New World's territory. Mud. It is now spread throughout the Golden Triangle that New World boss Li Qing is a ruthless man who will exact revenge on others. As a result, anyone kidnapped by the Golden Triangle must first ask whether it has anything to do with the New World. Let's go. Let's go take a bath and use a sauna at my place first. Ai Peng pulled Li Qing into the car. Tai Peng glanced downstairs secretly. The army began to withdraw, and he let out a sigh of relief. Now he wants to call the Minister of Interior to explain, at least let the minister know his good intentions. He is doing this entirely out of national interests and for the economic development of Thailand. Before the call was made, the police chief limped into the office with a bruised nose and a swollen face. Tapan, I'm a fool. He was furious when he saw Tapan. It was because of this idiot that he was beaten violently by Tapan. Now he has nothing to do and is so angry. You. The police chief punched him, and Tapan was not to be outdone. The two started fighting in the office. Director, Mr. Tapan, Li Qing's information came from Xiangjiang. The fat policeman pushed open the door and stared at two people, one picking his nose and the other gouging his eyes. I didn't know whether to go in or close the door. The brain CPU reacted quickly within 0.01 seconds, took a step back and closed the door. 1 minute later, the voice of the police chief rang out, "Come in." The fat policeman walked in with the materials, secretly glanced at the two. Well, it seems that the chief won. He respectfully placed the materials in the hands of the police chief. The police chief frowned, "So thick." Li Qing, male, Han nationality, native of Foshan, Guangdong, formerly a member of the Hongxian gang of the Hong Kong Society. As the police chief kept turning the pages, his expression became more and more solemn. Tapan saw that something was wrong, snatched the materials from the police chief and started reading. The only sound in the office was the sound of turning pages. The fat policeman was standing aside, swallowing his saliva carefully, and even his breathing was deliberately reduced a lot. Until the last page, according to the investigation of the Hong Kong police, the recent demise of Nayake and the Eight-Faced Buddha, the drug lords in the Golden Triangle of Southeast Asia, is very likely related to New World. We hope that the Thai authorities will assist the Hong Kong police in investigating and collecting evidence. We thank the Thai authorities for their support. Investigate? I'll investigate your grandma's legs. The police chief muttered in a low voice. The two raised their heads at the same time and looked at each other, and they both found a trace of fear in each other's eyes. If they understood Chinese, they would probably only use two idioms to describe Li Qing, that is, audacious and vindictive. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 268. Sawadika. As soon as they got off the bus, a sweet-looking female soldier put a garland on Li Qing and others. Sawadika. Li Qing clasped his hands together to express his gratitude. "Haha, brother Li Qing, let's go in and talk." Ai Peng laughed and pulled Li Qing into the military guest house. The two of them walked into the guest house together, and the adjutant naturally entertained the crow and others. "Brother Li Qing, my boss is here and he wants to see you." Ai Peng's face became serious and he said in Li Qing's ear. When Li Qing heard this, he immediately became solemn. He had already heard about Ai Peng's boss, who was the army commander-in-chief Bao. In fact, in Thailand, the supreme commander of the armed forces is the most senior general of the Thai army, but he has no real power. The commander-in-chief of the army has the highest power among the commanders of the three services. Even several military coups were led by the commander-in-chief of the army. So Li Qing also attaches great importance to Bao. The two of them didn't dare to delay. They took off their clothes in the dressing room, wrapped their bath towels tightly around their bodies and walked towards the hot spring. Bao was leaning on the edge of the hot spring, closing his eyes to relax. "General Bao, brother Li Qing is here." Ai Peng walked to Bao and whispered. "General Bao, this is the first time we meet, hello." Bao opened his eyes and was very happy to see Li Qing. He quickly smiled and said, "I have long heard that Ai Peng has a brother from Xiangjiang. Now that I have seen him, he is really extraordinary." Bao looked Li Qing up and down and nodded. "You are overly complimentary. I haven't thanked you enough for being able to come out of the Bangkok police station this time." Li Qing thanked Bao. The army's blockade of the Bangkok police station was not something that anyone could do casually. Bao waved his hand, "It's a small matter, huh?" The democratically elected government is really becoming more and more useless. It even dares to arrest friends from the military. Bao's tone was full of dissatisfaction with this democratically elected government. The two chatted a few more words about home affairs. Bao then put on a bath towel and walked out of the hot spring. Your Excellency Li Qing, let AI Peng take you here to have fun. I have an important meeting, so I won't accompany you. Haha, Mr. Bao, just go and do your work, Li Qing waved his hand and said. AI Peng had already put on a bath towel and followed Bao Gong to the door step by step. Li Qing looked at Bao's back and fell into deep thought. When Bao met him, he didn't mention anything and just chatted about family matters. This was not normal. Just when Li Qing was wondering, AI Peng came back, walked down to the hot spring and sat next to Li Qing. You feel comfortable? What are you thinking about, brother Li Qing? AI Peng glanced at Li Qing with a smile. Obviously he knew that Li Qing must be wondering. If you don't tell me, forget it. I don't want to hear it anyway. Li Qing looked into AI Peng's eyes and teased. Hey, I will order a large amount of arms from brother Li Qing in a while. AI Peng stopped suing and said in a very low voice. Li Qing was stunned for a moment, and suddenly thought that Bao had met him inexplicably today, which reminded him of the outbreak of the financial crisis in Thailand and the recession in economic development that caused strong dissatisfaction among the people. Could it be? He glanced at AI Peng in disbelief, and AI Peng nodded with a serious expression. Li Qing didn't ask any more. It's good to know this kind of thing and never say it. Okay, no problem. You are my friend. Don't worry about the arms. And a shy look appeared on old AI Peng's face. Can you sell me individual soldier equipment at a cheaper price? Li Qing looked at AI Peng amusedly. It was the first time since he and AI Peng had known each other for such a long time that he saw such an embarrassed expression on his dark face. Okay, I'll give you a 50% discount. AI Peng curled his lips when he heard this, and shouted quickly, who is here, is he damn dead? Come out quickly. I saw several naked female soldiers walking out of the inner door. Huan Fiyan is different in thickness, height, and skin color, and there are even some with blonde hair and blue eyes. Thump thump, several female soldiers jumped into the hot spring and walked towards Li Qing. AI Peng gave a look that any man would understand. Don't worry, Li Qing, these are original goods and very clean. Li Qing just rolled his eyes in his mind. Am I that kind of person? Do you use this to test cotters? Up to 10% off, no more. AI Peng glanced at Li Qing, who was still pregnant, and said, 10% off, I guarantee the quality. Anyway, the water in the hot spring splashed for a long time, just like the waves, one wave higher than the other. Royal Thai Hospital. VIP ward. Smith is receiving attentive service from the little nurse in the hospital. It has to be said that as long as he has money here, he can do whatever he wants. At first, the little nurse refused politely, but now she took the initiative and acted like ice and fire. I have to say that the women here are really good at it. At least the service is a level higher than that of beautiful country. The women in this beautiful country have good figures, but they are too direct and do not do good foreplay. It's a jolt when you go up, and the battle is resolved in 10 minutes, making it feel like a routine. Smith felt a shudder. After more than 10 seconds, he patted the little nurse on the head and took out a few $100 bills from his wallet. You must know that the current US dollar bills are hard currency in Thailand, which is much easier to use than the Thai currency, which is depreciating every day. The little nurse licked her lips, took the dollar bill, winked at Smith, and walked out. Smith lay on the bed with a slight pain in his cheek, which reminded him of the humiliation the night before. I don't know if Tapong has solved the problem. He took out his phone to ask. Thai people are too unreliable. They are so slow to do things. The door of the ward was opened. Smith was stunned. There are still doctors at this late hour? Two doctors in white coats and masks were pushing a medicine cart towards him. It's so late, do you still need an drip? Smith asked curiously. He also felt something was wrong. The white coats of the two doctors seemed to be ill-fitting. Who are you? What are you going to do? One doctor was not speaking and pumped white liquid into the syringe. The other looked at him and sneered, and poured the medicine in the bottle on a towel and walked towards him. Don't. Smith's mouth and nose were covered by a towel, and he gradually stopped struggling and fainted. Then an unknown drug was injected into his body through the blood vessels, and his heart gradually stopped beating under the effect of the drug. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 269. Ever since Tapan learned about Li Qing's identity, he began to feel extremely uneasy and felt that he was not safe anywhere. He has been living in his own office at the Ministry of Interior for the past few days and has not even dared to go home. What is strange is that neither the minister nor the deputy minister came to talk to him. It's probably not that serious. Tapan muttered quietly, feeling that he was being too cautious. Ding ring ring, the rapid ringing of the phone startled him. Hey, who is it? Tapan sounded a little impatient. Who would call at such a late hour? Hello, Mr. Tapan? We are the Royal Hospital. Please come to the hospital quickly. Your friend Mr. Smith has an accident. An anxious female voice came from the other end of the phone. Tapan's mind suddenly went blank. What did you say? What happened to Mr. Smith? Come quickly, he doesn't seem to be breathing. When Tapan heard this, he fell to the ground. It's over, it's all over. Being able to climb to this position, Tapan was definitely not a fool. He realized that the other party might take action. As for Smith's life or death, he doesn't care at all now, he is worried about his own life and death. He hung up the phone in panic and dialed the number of the Bangkok police chief. Due to the long busy tone made him feel flustered. Click. Fortunately, the call was finally connected, which made him sigh in relief. Hey, where are you? Smith is dead. Why don't you speak? I said Smith is dead. Fear made him yell into the phone. But the other party still didn't speak. There was only the sound of heavy breathing on the phone, and then it slowly weakened, until it disappeared. He is dead too. The sound seemed to come from hell, which made Tapan's hair stand on end. It felt like there was a big stone stuck in his throat. He wanted to shout but couldn't. Tapan dropped the phone in his hand, fell to the floor, kicked his legs randomly, and kept retreating. Li Qing, it must be Li Qing. Now in his mind, the devil was making a gesture of slitting his throat, with murderous intent in his eyes. First it was Smith, then the police chief, and he might be next. No, run away to a place where he can't be found. Tarpan managed to stand up, took his wallet from the drawer, and took out an unnamed Swiss bank deposit certificate from the safe. He took out a pistol from the secret compartment on the far left, opened the magazine and looked at the bullet in his waist. Escape, as far away as possible, only then did he realize that he had been abandoned. The reason why the minister and deputy minister did not reprimand him was because they had already regarded him as dead. Tapan opened the door carefully and walked out of the office. It was already midnight, and the Ministry of Interior building was dark, except for the security department, which still had lights on. Tapan sat in the elevator and walked towards the underground parking lot. The safety of the pistol was turned on and he was holding it in his hand. He walked cautiously and slowly towards his car, and finally got into the car safely, and he let out a sigh of relief. He put down the gun in his hand, fumbled for the key and started to start the fire. If I were you, I wouldn't move. Tupan's heart trembled, as if he was going to get a gun, but the cold barrel of the gun on the back of his head made him raise his hands. Then he covered his mouth and nose with a handkerchief with a pungent smell, and he felt slowly and feebly falling into darkness. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the conference room of TAD, Thailand Tourism Authority, headquarters. Lee Ching, Sayer, and Apeng sat together to discuss the contracting of Phuket tourism projects. The three parties had made arrangements in advance, and this time they came mainly to sign a contract with the Tourism Authority of Thailand under the witness of the Tourism Committee of the Prime Minister's office. New World's professional team is engaged in a war of words with people from the Tourism Authority of Thailand, and some profit distributions are even as detailed as 4 digits after the decimal point. Lee Ching was chatting with Ai Peng and Say. The boy named Ai Gilai who was in the detention room last time was pretty good, with a fierce energy. Lee Ching admired Ai Gilai very much, but his skills were not as good as Ating's. Lee Ching mentioned him deliberately because he didn't want to bury his talent and let Sayer use him more. Haha, that's pretty good. We have arranged for him to take charge of the night market on Khao San Road. Thayer said happily. In fact, Sayer did not expect that Lee Ching would be willing to involve him in such a large project despite his military background. The Bangkok gang has remembered this friendship. The professional team, with the support of the military, quickly modified some of the inappropriate conditions. Mr. Lee, everything has been revised. Please take a look. Lee Ching took it and glanced at it casually. Okay, I believe you. He didn't understand it at all, so he simply didn't pretend. He is very relieved to let professional people do professional things. The Tourism Authority of Thailand also stated that it had no objections and could sign the contract at any time. Mr. Lee, you can sign it? Lee Ching nodded, stood up and looked at his watch. Wait a little longer, it's not time yet. Everyone looked at him strangely, and even Ai Peng asked in confusion, Brother Lee Ching, what are you waiting for? Lee Ching said nothing, smiled mysteriously, and walked to the window. The National Tourism Administration of Thailand is in a building with more than 10 floors. From above, the people on the ground look like the size of ants. After waiting for about a minute, Lee Ching looked at the dial and whispered, it's time. Ai Peng, who was standing beside him, asked in confusion, what time? A shrill scream sounded, and a figure fell quickly from the rooftop. Shua flashed past Ai Peng's eyes, scaring him. What's going on? A group of people looked out the window in horror, unable to say a word. Okay, we can sign now. Lee Ching smiled at the other party and said. 5 minutes later, Lee Ching and his group walked out of the meeting room, and heard the whole building talking about the jumping incident just now. I heard that he jumped from the rooftop. Who knows, it is said that the surveillance is broken and can't be checked. Why do you think Ta Peng from the Ministry of the Interior came to jump from our building? Is the Ministry of the Interior's building not high? I think he must be at odds with the leader of our bureau, and he seems to be here to make trouble for him. I heard that our director cheated on his wife. Oh my God, such a big melon. Only Ai Peng and Say looked at Lee Ching. They all knew what the reason was. Ai Peng shook his head. The military hadn't taken action yet. He didn't expect Lee Ching to take action himself. It was indeed Lee Ching from the New World. It seemed that no one who offended him survived. General Ai Peng, brother Say, there is no end to making money. Only cooperation can lead to win-win results. After speaking, Ai Peng and Say put their hands on Lee Ching's hands. The three looked at each other and smiled at the same time. Win-win cooperation. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wan Ching Buletin Liang. Chapter 270. By the way, Say, I need your help to find the Buddha head in Ating village. Lee Ching has always been concerned about his younger brother. He knew that the younger brother he had just taken in was not completely loyal, probably because of the Buddha head. "Don't worry, brother Li Qing, there is nothing I can't find in Bangkok." Say patted his chest and laughed. This time he was very lucky to have Li Qing help him. He was able to cooperate with the military to develop tourism projects, which he had never dared to think of before. He also knew that the military took him along for Li Qing's sake. So he must take care of Li Qing's affairs, and asked his younger brother to find the Buddha head within 2 days in front of Li Qing. "Brother Li Qing? Are you really not going to stay at my place for a few more nights?" Ai Peng asked eagerly. Under Li Qing's coordination, the things the boss needed could be shipped to Thailand soon, which made him once again valued by the boss. So he was grateful to Li Qing from the bottom of his heart and wanted Li Qing to stay at his place for a few more nights. Li Qing glanced helplessly at his listless brothers. "Ai Peng, next time, definitely next time." But what he was thinking was, go again. It's unknown whether these brothers can get out of bed alive. The most important thing is that Li Qing has his own arrangements. His professional team has bought 8 large rubber plantations around Bangkok, Thailand, and he wants to take a look. After all, rubber is a material with a wide range of uses and is an important strategic resource. If it weren't for the financial and economic crisis in Thailand, it would be really difficult to take it down. "Okay, brother Li Qing, please call me next time you come." Ai Peng saw that Li Qing really had something to do, so he didn't force it. After saying goodbye to Li Qing, he got on the military vehicle and left. Sayer also said goodbye to Li Qing, and before leaving, he said that he would contact him once he found the Buddha head. Li Qing got in the car and drove to the rubber plantation. "Brother, this was found on that tarpon." Crow handed the paper bag in his hand to Li Qing. Li Qing opened it and found that it was a bearer certificate of deposit from a Swiss bank with more than $3 million on it. "Give some to the brothers who came to Thailand this time." Li Qing returned the deposit certificate to Crow. "Okay, big brother." Li Qing believes that merits must be rewarded and faults must be punished. This situation has become the norm, and now every time Li Qing leaves Hong Kong, New World will have a competition inside, and the winner will be eligible to follow the big brother. Zhang Dongzhi glanced at the still cheerful Crow casually. "Big brother, this was found in Smith's bag, he always carries it with him." Zhang Dongzhi took out a notebook and handed it to Li Qing. "Tisk, a notebook is worth $3 million." Crow said sarcastically, and shook the bearer deposit certificate in his hand. "Idiot." Zhang Dongzhi rolled his eyes and said softly. "Dog show, say it again." "Idiot." Li Qing ignored the two and flipped through the notebook. Wow, this is all English, I don't understand a hammer." Li Qing glanced at Zhang Dongzhi who was arguing with the Crow. "Dongzhi, you can be inconsiderate sometimes, forget it, let Xiaomin help translate it, there may be some important information." "Brother, we are here." Li Qing opened his eyes, got out of the car, and straightened his wrinkled clothes. A middle-aged man with a white straw hat ran out from the rubber plantation in the distance. "Mr. Li, hello." His face was full of flattering smiles. "This is Wen Gang, the person in charge of this rubber plantation. He used to be in charge of this rubber plantation. He is from Wanbei." A younger brother reported softly in Li Qing's ear. Li Qing didn't say anything, but asked him to lead the way. Wen Gang introduced the rubber plantation to Li Qing while walking. "Mr. Li, most of the rubber trees in this rubber plantation are more than 6 years old." Through Wen Gang's introduction, Li Qing learned that a rubber tree must be planted for more than 6 years before rubber can be harvested. Thailand has at least 3 months of rainy season every year when rubber cannot be tapped. Each tree can only produce 30 cubic centimeters, ml, of latex juice every day, and a latex pillow requires the juice of about 50 rubber trees to produce. Little knowledge, so it is impossible to buy a pure latex pillow for 200 or 300. The latex must be collected before dawn. Latex is easy to solidify. The solidified latex can only be used to make solace or rubber bands. There are many common sense about rubber, which opened the eyes of Li Qing and others. Since Li Qing came to the whole rubber garden, there were no workers working, and it seemed very empty. Brother, look over there. Zhang Dongxiu has been alert to the surroundings. This is a habit he has always developed. Li Qing looked at the place where Zhang Dongxiu pointed, and saw a young man in brown clothes tied firmly to a rubber tree. What's going on? Li Qing said in a deep voice. Wen Gang looked at the man with a hint of viciousness in his eyes. He clearly asked his workers to put the man down, but no one listened to him. Mr. Li, it's nothing serious. It's just that a rubber plantation worker is dishonest. Oh. Li Qing walked past him and walked towards the young man. When he got closer, he found that the young man was not wearing brown clothes, but white clothes. It was just dirty and looked like brown from a distance. His hands were also tightly bound by wire, which had sunk deep into his flesh, and there were mosquitoes circling around him. His lips were chapped, and it looked like he hadn't had water for a long time. Killing him is better than torturing him. Are you killing a chicken to scare the monkey? Li Qing turned his head and looked at Wen Gang, who was bending over. Yes, yes, Mr. Li is wise. Otherwise, the rubber plantation would be difficult to manage, Wen Gang said embarrassedly. The young man heard someone talking and raised his head to look at Li Qing and others. Li Qing could see the young man's appearance clearly. How could it be him? The young man also laughed at this time. He, if you want to kill him, kill him. Anyway, there are more than one person buried in this rubber plantation. The words he spoke were actually Chinese. Crow and others looked at each other in surprise. The popularity of Chinese is quite good. Silian Muo, what are you talking about? Wen Gang glanced at Li Qing with a guilty conscience and quickly scolded him. Let him say, I really want to know why he was tied here. Li Qing smiled and glanced at Wen Gang. Just this one look made Wen Gang feel as if he had fallen into hell. He, boss, before you came, this bastard moved a batch of rubber. I accidentally discovered what he was doing, and he tied me up here to make an example of him. As soon as the young man spoke, Li Qing could smell the smell of alcohol from a distance. It turned out that there was a 2-day gap between the handover between the old and the new, and Wen Gang directly sold all the rubber produced during the gap and pocketed the money. Mr. Li, don't listen to this kid, he's lying. Wen Gang's face changed drastically and he denied it strongly. Mr. Li, you can't trust him, he's from the mainland. Li Qing looked at Wen Gang expressionlessly. Mainland? What's wrong? Wen Gang didn't hear the change in Li Qing's tone. We are one family in Taiwan and Hong Kong, and mainlanders are unreliable.